All right, hey everybody, this is Bill Burr. I've been asked, have the honor to do the intro for unfortunately Bob Saget's last episode of his podcast. Bob Saget is Here for You, which I think is a perfectly named podcast for him, where that guy really was there for everybody. Just truly one of the funniest human beings I ever met, and also one of the nicest. He was as funny as he was nice, and he really, he had a lot of pain in life, and he wanted to make sure no one else felt it, and he did the best that he could, and with that, by helping out everybody. And I absolutely love the guy, and I'm in shock that he's no longer with us, but I am just so thankful to have met him, to have known him, and he just was the greatest guy ever. So please enjoy this last episode, and I don't know what else to say other than hopefully we all try to be a little more like that guy. All right, thank you.
Hey, yo, Happy New Year again. Bob Saget here with Bob Saget's Here for You. I sound like an announcer. I don't want to do that. I can't help it. When I was like 9 years old, I would literally sit on the toilet. I don't know what I was doing there. And I wasn't doing much, probably just, pee or poo. And I would have a Kleenex box. See, I'm only 9, so don't go lascivious on me. And I would just read the back of the box and pretend the hamper across from me was a camera. And I would do commercials. And I never thought that I'd end up on a podcast, my dream of all dreams, talking. Well, actually, I do love this podcast quite a bit, so that didn't call for that kind of sarcasm. I love doing this damn thing. I have no reason to ever stop doing this. Why would I? Anyway, I would do commercials off of a tissue box. 4-ply, and, it was full of chemicals then. But anyway, this is a great intro for a really good episode with somebody that I've always admired, always looked up to. She's a pioneer in many ways. It's Margaret Cho. And Margaret Cho is one of the best comedians. They would say comedians, but they say actors instead of, I don't know. She's damn funny. She's a great comedian. She's a great actress. She has a movie coming out this is dropping on the 10th of January. January 14th, she has a movie coming out on Hulu called Sex Appeal with Paris Jackson. So you're gonna want to watch that. It's in 4 days on Hulu, unless it's 2 days if you're hearing this 2 days from now. See how I know how time works. And she's on tour. You can go see her on tour, margaretcho.com. And you can also see her in L.A., May 7th and 8th. She's part of the Netflix Comedy Festival. And she will be at the Wiltern and then the next night at the Greek Theater. So those are really great venues. And she's really excited to be part of it, as she should be. She's going to be a guest star on The Flight Attendant, 3 episodes of The Flight Attendant, which, again, I can't wait for that. That's damn awesome. And then in the summer, she's got a movie coming out on Hulu called Fire Island with Bowen Yang. And she's really excited about that, too. Bowen is so funny. And she is just so funny and so sweet. And we're now going to say hello to someone I've always just adored, Margaret Cho.
Hi.
Hey, Margaret. I mean, we've ran into each other over the years, but I haven't seen you in a long time.
The last time I saw you, I've saw you do stand-up comedy, which I love, not that long ago, actually. And then the last time I remember sitting down with you was for an audition for the Rennie Harlan movie. It was a big action movie. And it was, I think, with Gina Davis. It was like
The long goodbye.
the long goodbye or something like that. And I had a scene with a little girl, and you read the scene as the little girl, and you were so good.
That's so unusual. I don't remember why I read it as a little girl. Maybe that was the part I wanted.
Maybe that was what you were hoping to get.
Yeah. And one day,
Maybe,
we
but
don't
it was
give up.
it was very funny because you were very convincing. I mean, it was like you didn't even do a high little girl voice. You just read it in your voice.
I remember this, and I'm trying to figure out why I did it. It was a favor. I don't know. Was I involved creatively? I literally don't remember, but I remember knowing Rennie and doing that.
Yes. I didn't get the part, but I guess it's only because you weren't the other actor in the room. So you couldn't bring out what I needed to have in the moment. I'm
sorry. It's not.
It's all right.
I should have brought out my inner little girl. I tried.
Well, you didn't. No, you were perfect. I think I got nervous because when I got in the room with Rennie, he actually pulled the phone out of the curly cord.
Right.
He pulled it out and he's like, use that as a prop. And I was so shocked by somebody giving me a prop to use. I was like, wait, I'm not ready.
Right.
So that was I was like, he's like into realism, I guess. I don't know.
I did the opposite of that once when I was just starting out in LA. I didn't know anything about auditioning. I was like 22. Mm-hmm. And I used the phone on the casting director's desk. I picked it up, and when I picked it up, it unplugged from the phone, and I knocked over the pencils. Forget the rest of what happened. It was just
the best.
Very sad. Very sad. Anybody that's out there auditioning, I feel you.
It's such a hard thing to do, and then what's even harder though is auditioning other people.
Yeah.
When you're actually reading like people, I feel so bad and I want to hire everybody.
I have a tendency when I'm directing something you're supposed to do 5-7 minutes and move on to the next. I do 20 minutes, 30 minutes because I know people. So mm-hmm. I feel so rude because I've been on the other side. I am on the other mm-hmm. side. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of compassion that comes with it.
Yeah.
When you're a good person like you. And then we would, so we saw each other even in San Francisco when you were coming up. I saw you. I was up there quite a bit.
Yes. And I remember like seeing you a bunch at the Improv and probably Cobb's.
Yeah.
Cobb's or the Punchline.
I opened and
all those
closed
places.
Cobb's and the Marina. And then
mm-hmm.
I opened it at the old boarding house, which became the...
yes.
I opened that one, but I closed the one in the Marina and I opened it like 12 mm-hmm. years later. I just said, keep my number because you're going to close.
Yeah. Well, they just moved.
Yeah,
they moved to a bigger venue. I mean, it's like they had the old boarding house. That was an incredible place.
Exactly.
That was that's like one of the last holdouts of almost the old Purple Onion, Lenny Bruce comedy scene from the 60s. So that was like the old boarding house was like 70s, 80s. It's very big.
Yeah, that was equivalent to not the Troubadour. So it wasn't like music people and it was comedy pretty much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they had music there too at the boarding house. What am I saying?
Well, I mean, I think if they did, they would have people coming in that were mostly like acoustic, similar to like sort of like the Greenwich Village, like coffee house, like that whole thing.
Right.
So
the bottom line.
That. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I'm so happy to see you, and I'm so happy for you. It's my God, your life is epic. It's epic.
It's epic. It's pretty good.
It is. And
mm-hmm.
I know you're from San Francisco. I know I want to be able to pronounce your parents' names. I have them written here. Can I try it? And
try it.
It won't cause a problem.
No.
Young Hee.
Pretty good.
Damn it.
Yes.
Sorry.
That's
Please
good.
apologize to them. And that's your mom. And your dad is Seung Hoon Cho.
Songhun Cho. In Korean, when you pronounce people's names, it's actually you say the last name first. So, but my Korean name is Moran, so Cho Moran is my Korean name.
Why did you not go with that name?
Cho Moran, because I think most of us on my generation, they were trying to Americanize our generation. So we didn't speak Korean. I actually learned Korean much later as an adult. And so it was like we were going to be American kids. They just wanted to have American kids because they were afraid that we were going to be not accepted as Americans. And so a lot of us have like dual names. A lot of us have no experience with the Korean language. But I actually go back and I performed in Korea. But my Korean isn't good enough to do comedy. It's actually very hard to do comedy in Korean.
But you could do English as well? Because everybody understands English pretty much everywhere, right?
Yes. And they subtitle it when I do television. And then they they highlight the part where they're supposed to laugh. So they know when to laugh because they're not sure when it's funny.
I do that now.
It's good to have that little nudge for the audience so they know when to laugh. Sometimes it's because it's subtle.
Wait, my God. It just is. I could never perform. Maybe I could. But I mean, it would have to be I did a play once off Broadway called Privilege, and they telestrated the whole bottom. It was a deaf audience and hearing impaired. And so they telestrated underneath, but I wasn't really off book because I would let the character kind of, and it was Paul Weitz wrote it. So I should have been word perfect. But I would kind of make it real, and sometimes it was intentional, and sometimes it was not. And the whole audience was laughing, and I went, "Boy, these jokes are playing so much better." But it's because they were 4 steps ahead of me because they knew that I was not doing the lines right.
That's funny.
Kind of.
That's great. Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, I think it's like definitely hard to do comedy in other languages, but I think maybe it's almost as if certain mugging is universal.
Right.
Embarrassment is universal. Not knowing what you're doing is universal. And everybody can kind of like understand that from what you're saying or what you're feeling on stage. So that always works out in the end.
And making fun of yourself, unfortunately, we are the victims of comedy because it allows us to then not be threatening to anyone. Or if you want to talk about other people, you're honest about yourself first, which you did from the very beginning. From the beginning of what you did, because I just watched stuff of you also from your first television stuff.
Oh yeah.
And you're all dressed up. You look like you're going to a beautiful formal thing. No, you're gorgeous. It's unbelievably great. And
it's so fun.
It's opposite day on how direct and real. And I was just reading that you were saying how you're special. I'm the one that I want, and that was your one-woman show that was that you did off Broadway and that you loved, and that you watched it again, and you tell me how you felt.
Well, I really liked watching it because I was like, oh, do you ever watch like your old comedy and go, oh, I was much better. I used to be a really good comic.
No, I don't do that. I look at it and go, why? Why did I do that? Why is
I always look back and go, oh, I forgot that. I should use that again. Like
I do that.
I watch it totally like I've never seen it before. I really cannot remember anything I used to do. And I'm amazed when I watch it. I'm like, how could I remember all those things? Like our minds are incredible because we totally, like, you know how you're supposed to change all of your cells in 7 years? I do, including my brain cells. I have no idea who the person was.
I do the same thing.
Yeah.
On every 7-8 years, I become a different version of myself.
Totally different.
I've never talked to anybody.
Yes.
So it is, you consider it to be cellular regeneration?
Well, it's because I just have so little memory of all the things that I guess it's so hard. Like I think maybe there's like hard drives of your brain that maybe you store in your closet, like with your old Macs.
Right.
You know, that like it's just you have to download everything in order for there to be space for new stuff to you can upload whatever. And so it's very much like not remembering anything from then, or I don't know. But when I watch things like I'm the One That I Want, I'm really amazed. And that show, actually, we filmed it on actual film from short ends that we'd buy. There was a short ends shop on La Brea that was right by Rocket Video. And you could buy short ends.
Just so people know, short ends are not hair extensions. They are the little, they're the smaller pieces of film that are not on the full magazine. They're the remnants or what's left that no one needed.
Yes. So they would cut off, and then you would buy just the ends, and you would just tape them all together and then use them to make a movie for indie filmmakers. And so it was definitely a different process, making film, carrying the print from festival to festival. You actually had to carry
one print.
things.
You had to have 3.
Well, I carried one, and then there was like, I guess it was just a giant box thing. And then you would bring it physically. I mean, to actually think about bringing physical media to things, like that's a memory I really enjoyed deleting. Like we used to only have 12 songs. You have to carry the songs on like a tape.
Yeah.
Or a CD or a record. Well, people love vinyl now, so that's a different kind of
There's so
luxury.
much cherished television that was on 2-inch tape and then 1-inch tape when it was all analog. That is not available because they didn't transfer it to digital media. And it just like in your garage, even in semi-chilled refrigerators at NBC, it's gone.
It degrades. There's a wonderful band called a Scottish band called Teenage Fan Club. And they have, they used to take their actual like recordings and they would put them in the oven and bake them at a very low temperature in order to preserve something, or to bake in a sound, like to get a certain effect. So we actually are kind of half in an analog digital sort of age where we can understand that there used to be things that we had there now just vinegar.
Yeah. One of the things I love is that LPs have come back and audiophiles are able to, people like to criticize Gen Z, but that's ridiculous when they're understanding and loving the beauty of a needle drop.
Oh, it's great.
And to hear it through speakers until it gets scratched, then you go through what we all went through.
Well, then you're just, then you can't use it. I mean, you can't like if it skips, it's ruined. And then my dad had gloves that he would. Now he's very digital. Now he loves that, but he would have 78s.
Yeah,
and
I had 78s.
Use gloves to take them out of the sleeves.
He had gloves.
Yeah.
Wow, he was the OJ of his time.
Exactly.
See, that's not humor. That's just wanting to mention something horrible.
Just observational horribleness. It gets murderous.
It wakes you up for a minute.
Yeah, for a second. I like it. it.
Well, I've always just thought the world of you, and you've always. Well, it's real hard to find your voice, and it's real hard. There is no way you don't have a psychological battle when you do stand up, and you wanted to do it young, which is, I fell into it at 16, 17 because I was making student films, and that's what I thought I was going to do. But you were like 15 and you told your parents, I want to be a stand-up.
Yeah. I started comedy when I was I started when I was 14. And then when I was 15, I started to do comedy shows, but I was on shows with my comedy partner, Sam Rockwell, who's a very famous actor.
He's amazing.
But he was my first comedy partner. I think we were sort of like a very little, like a baby, I don't know, Stiller and Mira.
Yeah, from Nichols and May.
Nichols and May. That kind of feeling. But I really wanted to be a comedian as watching shows on television. We had public television in San Francisco that would do comedy shows from the old boarding house. So you would see comics perform there. And, you know, Alex Bennett was the big DJ.
I remember Alex, and
Remember
I
Alex?
got along with Alex, but
He was
some
great.
some people did not, because he was a shock jock in some ways and had a critic kind of attitude, but I always got along with the guy.
He was a great lover of comedy.
Yeah.
And he
And
would
he was
help
good to
people
you?
out a lot. He was really good to me. He was really good to a lot of the comedians in San Francisco. I mean, and people who were coming in to do shows. You could go on his show in the morning, and he had a big following on the big New Wave station.
Yeah.
So you would go on in the morning, and then you would do shows that night. And so I would always like call in before I was even a comedian. I would call in and I would win tickets to shows and go see Ellen open for Will Durst.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Ellen opened for me when she was
Mhm.
19,
Yeah.
and I thought she had a crush on me because I was 21 or 22,
Oh.
and we had to play in New Orleans, and I thought it was going good, and then all of a sudden, I guess her girlfriend at the time came over, and they started kissing, and then I went, oh, I guess I'm not. It was like high school for me. I felt rejected.
Oh.
But she was a sweetheart.
She's great.
Yeah. Isn't it weird now? You look at your own press, you know, you've garnered a bunch of stuff. People look at, you know, 5-time Grammy nominated, 5-time Emmy nominated, and they go, wow, that's legend, that's icon. And you are that, and you're young. So how does that strike you when people, I mean, Bowen Yang and Ken Jeong, who's a dear friend, look at you and go, you know, they worship the ground that you started.
I love them. And Ken used to open for me when he was still in med school at Duke University. And so I've known him for 30 something years. And Bowen, I just did a movie with on called Fire Island on Fire Island this last summer.
Right.
And we had such a great time during, you know, this pandemic and 2 hurricanes. We were able to make a movie in the summer, which is a great gay Asian summer romance film written by Joel Kim Booster and starring Bowen and Joel. So it's like it's a dream for me, because for me, like, I just want to be like the Joan Collins of every Asian American comedian production. So I've done shows with, you know, all of these different great people like Aquafina,
Right.
and Bowen and Ken. And so, like, if I could just guest star on all their shows, I think I'll be okay.
Well, I mean, I remember when you had your show that was and you've had several, but and I remember it was All American Girl, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was around the time that I was finishing with the video show and with Full House. Full House went first, and the video show, and I just wanted to direct. I didn't want to be on camera anymore. And I remember we were on one junket together.
Yes.
And I remember that you took it really hard that when they didn't renew.
Yeah.
Why? And now would be the first thing they would renew.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it was so long ago, you know, when we're thinking about Asian American families on TV, we were the first one, and it was 1994. And they didn't have another Asian American family on TV until I think like 2014. You know,
Right. So we're moving really fast. Things are
it took
going.
a really long time, but it was, it was really painful and hard. And I think though, if the show had been successful, I may not have had the desire to become a better comic, which ended up happening. Like, after I stopped doing that TV show, I really devoted myself to being a good comic, and
A great comic. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
You can't say it. How could you say that? I wanted to devote myself to being the greatest.
I want to be a good comic. I mean, I think it's also like,
same.
It's hard though. Like, you want to keep on renewing, and you want to keep growing, and you want to keep pushing things. Although it's harder now to be a good comic because people get really like offended and scared to talk about things. And so it's very tough to sort of navigate that. But I think it's a good challenge.
How are you dealing with it? Because you are on tour. You're on a hardcore tour right now. This is, just so you know, it is the 10th of January, which is a big day because the 14th, in just a few days, Sex Appeal comes out. It premieres on Hulu with you and Paris Jackson.
Oh, she's so good.
She is. And now
she's so good.
I want to go back to the road, but I love getting plugs in because I never did it. I never did it I'm not good at it, but I like doing it because it looks like you really enjoyed doing that movie too.
Oh, I had a great time. I mean, I love that movie. I got to be with my old-time girlfriend, Rebecca Henderson, who I played. I've done quite a few shows with her, different TV shows where we've got married on a show. And now she's my second wife on Sex Appeal. And then we just had our anniversary on another show. So it's like somebody that you get paired with a lot as a couple. So it's very fun. And so she and I are, she's my second wife and we're having a great time in this show, this movie. But I think like the movie is really fun because also Fortune Feimster's great as my
I'm in love with her.
Wife. I'm in love with her.
I am too. I want to double date. We've been talking about double
great.
dating, but I don't know how. I mean, I'm never around. She's never around, and the world's gone to hell.
I know. It's hard for like stand up. I mean, I've really kind of like tried to figure out like how to do shows. I've done a lot of like shows online streaming over the last pandemic, and I've gotten better at it. I really kind of love it. So, hopefully I get to do more of that.
Now, how do you do it? Is it a forum that's set up for you?
Yeah, there's a couple of different ways. And there's just usually like you just set up, just talking. It's just like this and talking to people online. And then people can selectively mute or unmute themselves. It can be chaotic, especially when people are cooking while they're watching you or eating while they're watching you. It's a little bit weird, but it can also be really great.
And did you do any of the drive-ins during last year?
Yes, I did a few.
I was going to do one, and then just before I did it, they canceled it and said we're at the Irvine Improv, where you're going to be not too long from now.
Yes.
And you're going to be everywhere. So back to the touring. You go to places. I see your tour dates. We frequent some of the same places. You got some great theater dates coming up too. You've got the Wiltern on May 6th.
That's right.
Which is great. It's one of the best places in LA. And you're also doing the Netflix in April, the big comedy festival. What date are you doing that? Do you know?
I don't know. Let's see. Let's look it up.
I looked it up 12 times.
Let's look it up. Let's look it up because I'm excited to do it. I think that it's like one of those things where it's just legendary to be able to do like any kind of big like festival and big thing. So it's in April at I think it's in May.
May 7th.
It's going to be May 7th.
It's May 7th. I happen to know that because a little friend named Ken told me.
May 6th and 7th. So 6th is at the Wiltern and the 7th is at I think it's at the Greek Theater.
Oh, so the 6th is also part. Oh yeah,
yes.
you're doing the Greek Theater. That's what you're doing.
Yes, which is also a really fun. It's a rare thing for comics to play it. I haven't played it since I did I used to open for Cyndi Lauper's show. So Cyndi would tour with Debbie Harry and sometimes Joan Jett, and we would do these big, very exciting shows. Like it was big gay summer tour with Cyndi. So that was the last time I got to play the Greek Theater with her.
And you're friends with all these people, and you're friends with Shirley Manson, who I've always loved from Garbage.
Oh, I love her.
I love her so much.
She's so amazing. She's so funny and so cool and just such an amazing singer and songwriter. And I really admire her a lot.
And she's an innovator. A lot of stuff was taken from her styles of the way
she
did a lot of things. I was a huge whore for their band and would go see them everywhere. And so I drove to San Diego by myself, and I went into the bathroom because they wanted to go in there and take a picture with me. So,
Uh-huh.
and it was at the urinal. So I was standing in front with my arms folded, and she was pissing in the urinal. That was the picture, and so was the band.
That's so cool.
It was
That's
pretty
so
cool. I said, album cover? No.
I think it's perfect album cover. I mean, she's just amazing. And yeah, the band is great. I love Garbage.
You mean the band?
Yes. And trash in general.
You love Garbage.
Well, I love compost,
Right, well,
recycling.
that's the newest thing. Oh my God. Now we have a separate can for compost.
Yeah.
And some people have, you get to hear all the politicizing of all of it. And they're like, it's all gone to the same place. It's all landfill. What are you doing? And, but then it's like a big, you'd put all your food into one thing. Where I live, that is raccoon. That's a buffet is what that is.
And bears. There's all the bears coming down. Although I think the bears are stopped coming down because there was a lot of rain. So, the bears come down from the top of the mountain, because they're so dry up there. So they're looking for food and water. So maybe they'll stay up there now.
Maybe the compost will help them. It'll be good for bears. Maybe it'll just say plastics and just paper and regular garbage and then bears.
They should just have like a bear centric thing where they could come and get something, get what they need.
They deserve.
They do.
We're a very messed up culture that we don't think that bears are people too.
Bears are great.
I feel an album cover.
I think so.
That's
so.
another.
Bears at the urinal.
Oh my God.
Wouldn't that be cute?
They're so cute. Like Winnie the Pooh at a urinal. And
he wears no pants.
And he's got no genitalia of any kind.
No.
I don't know how he eliminates. There's no hole. There's nowhere to let anything. There's nothing. Now, I have to ask you, because you're so good at so many things. I mean, I know that you did that when you shot your movie with Short Ends on 16 years back. You were a big Richard fan.
Yes.
We all were.
Yes.
How can we not be? And that's how he did his first thing. Was done. My producer friend David Permit produced it, 16 millimeter, 4 cameras. I don't know how many, and they shot it in Long Beach.
Yeah.
And you did it at the Warfield, yours, right?
Yes. That first one I did at the Warfield, and I love Richard Pryor. I got to meet him and interview him really close to right before he died, actually, at what is now Largo, which was the Coronet Theater before.
Yeah.
And so it was a huge honor to actually get to sort of hang out with him a little bit. And, he was just really an amazing artist. And I'm friendly with Rain and his daughter. And I think, what a great contribution to comedy he made. And, his legacy is tremendous.
I was just, Judd Apatow is making the definitive George Carlin documentary.
Uh-huh.
And so there's footage out there that you could see of Richard and George at different stages of their careers, where George has the upper echelon of show business happening for him, and Richard is just hilarious, but they're on the same kind of variety show together, being not the comedians that they became. And then years later, there's a Tonight Show clip where Richard is a number one movie star, and George is just coming into his own as who he was.
Yes.
And it's just, that's this 8-year thing. That's this transition that happens to artists that other people aren't comfortable with. Because I try to explain it. I got married, 3.5 years ago. And I tried to explain to my wife, I changed like every 7 or 8 years. COVID has delayed the change a little bit. But it's rebooted me in some ways. But the change is, like, I'm doing stand-up now, and I'm only talking about myself to set you up. And I love to talk about myself. But I'm different.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the way I'm talking to people, the stories I'm telling, the way I'm trying to be empathetic across the board, but then also not put up with bullshit.
Yeah.
Where are you at? How do you go with audiences? Your audience comes to you, but you might get people from the far right, far left, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really like, for me right now, the focus is a lot of talking about racism. I think it's a lot of trying to explain like that there is a huge problem with racism that we've had against Asian Americans and Asians because of the COVID-19 whole debacle, and everybody blaming this on Wuhan and everything. And then that's sort of trickling down to Asian Americans, and how our stories are really something that we need to share. And we've been dealing with Asian American racism since 1849. And it's a very difficult situation. And so like a lot of my comedy now is sort of motivated by trying to discuss that. And it's very, I think it's because it's actually like, I'm scared for myself because I'm
right,
an older Asian American woman.
You're not even middle-aged. You're a
I'm
youngster.
53.
I'm 65. I'll see you and I'll raise you.
But I mean, I think it's like, again, usually the violence is against older Asian American women. And it's really hard for me to turn on my camera when I'm being hate crimed because I have a mask on and a visor on and everything. So I have to like, how do you unlock your iPhone with all the stuff on your face? You have to film it if you're being hate crimed. Like, I'm so paranoid of all of that it's like not enough to just keep me in the house for this big pandemic. It's all the racism too, which is the second pandemic, is this idea that somehow we're responsible for it. But it's that it's a constant thing where whenever America is in crisis, our Americanness comes into question. So that's my general thing of like coming from a point of that to comedy. It's hard to make really serious things funny. That's the alchemy that has to happen.
And that's what we're watching happen. And that's why we're seeing some of our best comedians, and we know who they are, that are saying things that are offending people. And some are offensive statements, but it's also being said in a context. It's also being said at a different point in their life. And it's hard to explain to people, but hate doesn't help anything.
So it's hard.
You have been victimized. You have been a victim of hate crime. Please tell me about that. I don't understand.
No, it's like, I'm so, but anytime it happens to, say, the women in Atlanta who were shot and killed last year in March, anytime it happens to another Asian American woman, it happens to me. Anytime this happens to Asian Americans, it's happening to me. Like, I really feel it in a very deep, significant way.
Of course.
I'm so paranoid of it happening that I'm like, I don't know what to do. Once I remember walking down the street and this group of young boys ran up to me and they screamed in my face, "Chinos ruin everything." And I ran away and I was like, what do you think about chinos? Like, I was saying, does it mean like khakis? I guess they do kind of ruin everything. I mean, they're kind of like a.
Well, why are you responsible for chinos?
I don't know.
I don't understand.
I don't know. But chinos do kind of ruin a look. I have to agree.
Oh, so I understand that kind of hate of chinos I get. And it wasn't directed at you. Maybe they just needed someone to talk to.
I think they were, but I was like, are you talking about like a khaki pant? Are you talking about a Dockers? Are we talking about cargo shorts? I'm not sure. There's a lot of things that chinos fall under.
Are they cuffed?
Maybe. Capris.
Capris, they taper.
Yeah.
Now,
Capris
I have to ask, I have to profile them. What was the background of these kids that ran up to you? Age,
I don't know.
race?
What is, I don't know. What is a chinos? Well, I don't know.
Were they white youth?
Maybe. It was so fast. See, that's the thing, is that it's sometimes hate crimes happen so fast. I don't know what's going on.
And there's so much hate from everywhere.
Yeah.
But you're not hate, you're love.
I'm all love.
I'm not hate, you're all love.
We are all love. We are all love.
Oh, that's what I've been waiting for, to take my Benadryl. Oh, is that one of those hairless cats?
This is, I have some hairless cats here. This is a Lycoy. He's losing some of his hair. He's a werewolf cat. So they look like they could be in the 1960s Batman. They're like a Lon Chaney kind of a look. And then there's this one right here. This is Lucia. Are you allergic to dogs?
No, not at all. That's
This is
a beautiful little chino.
She's a little chino. Lucia.
How many animals do you have?
I have 4.
What else you got?
I have 2 hairless cats. They're running around.
I like them. One of my daughters has one of those, and they don't bother me.
Oh yeah, they're great. There's 2 of them here, and one of them fell off her bed, so it made a big crash.
Now, I'm not a gossipy guy, but for one of the first things I read, I go and Google you, because I do things like that. None of us do that. And then I hit news, and it says that you are dating. That you are now an available person. Is that accurate?
Well, I think
are you looking for someone to spend time with as a companion?
Sure. I mean, always, but also not. I think it's really best to live alone. I'm really enjoying that part. I've never lived alone.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what's really fun.
A lot. I got divorced 24
so
years ago, and then had several girlfriends until I met my wife 5.5 years ago. But I didn't think I'd ever be with anybody again on a permanent basis. I thought I would date.
Mm-hmm.
And I read your polygamy, that you're
polyamorous. Polygamy, that's more like the that's very those weird cults that they get together and
yes,
Utah.
That's what I thought it was. It's
polymorphous. Polyamory is where you have multiple partners, and then you have something called a polycule, where you have different relationships with different people within the polycule. So it's like a kind of a pod.
So they would only have relations within the
polycule in general.
It's like an ice cube tray.
Yeah, and people can be popped out and popped in. But now it's more, I get dick sometimes. It's fine. But I don't.
you get dick, meaning you understand it?
I receive dick now and again, and that's good enough for me, And dick is really, it's a genderless, to me, it's a genderless term, because it's to me, it's all sex is dick.
Oh, that's interesting. So you would say that the same thing with vaginal would be dick. You're using it as your term. So you can't really, no one can really cancel something that's only your term.
Right. Because it's all dick to me, even though they don't necessarily have a dick, it's still all dick. So I perceive all sexuality as dick, even though it's not necessarily dick that they are coming over with.
I understand. I actually understand. Isn't it weird, though, that these words, these slang words of the clinical terms, but dick and these are old terms, so please no one hold this against me unless you have one on you. But dick and pussy are derogatory things to call someone.
Yes.
That person is a dick. That person's a pussy. It's strange. We're in a very opposite day vernacular.
Yes.
I guess forever, probably.
Yeah. But it can be positive or negative. I look at it as all being very neutral. Pussy is very neutral. Dick is very neutral. To me, it's like kind of a good thing. But it doesn't necessarily mean what society's version of it is.
And you feel the same way as far as transgender goes? People that you would say dick there as well, just because it falls under that?
Yeah, because it's just like
these are all
sexuality.
Words.
Yeah.
Right.
I think with the transgender community, because I've been around the transgender community, since the 80s, been around people transitioning and different stages of that.
Yeah.
And what it feels, from the inside, it doesn't change the way that I approach language or
Right.
my own terms for my own sexuality.
And I think that's the problem that we have is people aren't hearing how people are saying it. When they are hearing how people are saying it and it's done with malice or racism or profiling, then they're hearing it. But the way you're saying it, the way I say it, it's misinterpreted out of context, but I never meant any malice toward anyone of any sexual, of any race. I don't even understand racism. I don't understand. It makes me cry.
Yeah, it's so upsetting. And it's very, it's hard to wrap your head around, but I think it's also like, I wonder, maybe I have those same perceptions about people who don't hold my same beliefs around race or around sexuality, or, if like I think about people who are very, very conservative, like they freak me out. I don't even know anything necessarily about them, but just the idea of them scares me. So maybe that's similar to people having beliefs about others that they don't know.
Well, because I guess because it's when people are trying to force their belief system on you. Yeah. That's what doesn't allow people to be who they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't understand. You said Asian hate really began in 1859, didn't?
1849.
49, sorry.
In 1849, there was a huge influx of Chinese workers who came to work on the gold mines during the gold rush. Gold is a very, very important alchemical idea in Chinese culture. So there's the gold mountain. So they were all trying to go to the gold mountain, which was in California. And so when they got there, they encountered a lot of racism against other new immigrants to America, people from Germany and Scandinavia, who were sort of like, and Ireland too, people who were actually also new immigrants who were trying to force the Chinese out, in a sense, to sort of be like, oh, we're the new inhabitants of this country, and so we're going to take over all of this land. It's a very real sort of like immigrant one-upsmanship story. So the Chinese miners were pushed out, and they were pushed into different industries, like the laundry. Laundry is not necessarily like a Chinese thing that we do, but because there was no other work they could get, they were all doing the miners' laundry, because at that time, the people in the mines working the gold mines were all the prospectors were sending their laundry to the Sandwich Islands, which became Hawaii, to get their laundry done. And it would take months. And so they had these Chinese, now not miners, but launderers, create all these laundries to wash their clothes. So, but that's the sort of the first instance how the Asian Americans, the early Asian Americans, kind of reformed to the racism that they were dealing with.
And I was born a Jewish kid. My grandfather and his grandfather were all tailors.
Right.
A similar type of thing. They had to figure out a way to make money, and they were good at it, but they were service people. They worked for people that could afford to have tailoring done. And same with laundry. I mean, a lot of people couldn't afford. It's just so sad that people were, I don't know. There's 19 ways to look at it, because there might have been stories where people were so happy they were able to raise their family by doing that work. But your parents didn't. What jobs? Your parents seem so smart and so eclectic and interesting.
Well, they did something different. Well, I'm actually Korean, but my DNA is Chinese. So our family.
I did not know that.
Is DNA Chinese, nationality Korean. So it's a complicated identity.
But both of your parents are from Korea.
They're from Korea, but our DNA is Chinese, which is actually very normal. In fact, I think most people in Korea are Chinese, which is a very controversial opinion. But I think it's like it's a DNA thing, because the landmass is basically China.
Right.
So we're all DNA Chinese. It's a haplogroup thing. But so my parents came to America and in the 70s bought a gay bookstore. My dad had a dream of creating an environment like City Lights bookstore, which was the sort of environment where all the beats, like Jack Kerouac and everybody, they were able to sort of create this whole subculture around that. And so my dad wanted to do that. And so he bought a gay bookstore called Paperback Traffic in the 70s in San Francisco. And so we just became de facto a part of the gay community. And then later on, of course, I am a gay, so I came out, but it's certainly like something that was very unusual for Koreans to do in the 70s in particular, because Korea is very patriarchal in nature, very conservative in nature. But my dad is very handsome and he loves male attention. So, and he doesn't accept male attention because from women, he thinks men only know what is beautiful in other men. So he doesn't accept it from women.
Wow.
He loves it from men. I mean, male beauty is South Korea's primary export, which is true. I mean, look at BTS and all of the K-dramas or Squid Game. The male beauty is a big signifier of Korean identity.
Well, the female beauty in Squid Game before they're shot, they're beautiful women in there as well.
Yes, they are. They really are. It's true. But male beauty is always put first and foremost.
Yeah, that's not that way well, I guess it is. I don't know anymore in American culture.
Well, male beauty, I don't think is
everybody has to be beautiful.
They would rather want men to be rugged, don't you think?
Right. Well, I do, but things are changing. There's this whole, the body shaming, a lot of things that are upsetting so many people because there's so much change going on will leave its mark and will shape things differently.
Yes.
No matter what, even if people may consider the needle being pushed too far, it's making a difference. It is making a difference in how older people that I know, or relatives mostly, are changing the way they say things. They're a little more conscious. And
that's good.
It is good because it's not just words. It was the intent behind the words.
Yeah.
I've said words purposely to mean the opposite. So like you were saying, you like dick. I mean, that out of context, it's like, whoa, look what Margaret's admitting to. But it's people don't understand facetiousness, sarcasm, and that's what comedy is hurt a little bit.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. We should always just enjoy that. Comedy in itself is a noble art form. You're just trying to get people to laugh, and that in itself is quite honorable, no matter what the joke is.
Yeah.
There's something really joyful about somebody who's just trying.
Look what you're doing.
I love it.
Yeah, right? Because you're badass.
Oh, thank you.
But you're also the sweetest, kindest, which is my favorite combo. Because that's my fake thing, is that I was badass. Sometimes, when I got to get things done for people I care about, I'm not the same person as the guy that doesn't want to hurt anybody's feelings,
Yeah,
Now, you were doing this tour fresh off the bloat.
Yes.
And then it got delayed because of the COVID. Is that the tour that's out right now that you're doing?
Well, now it's I think then the materials changed, but it's still the same sort of sentiment of trying to be out there and be on tour. But now we're sort of coping with everything happening. And so really it's the same tour, but it's different material, I guess, but same ideas, same feelings, because we've all changed. I think we've all changed as a nation, as a people. We're all different inside from everything that's happened. So yes, it's the same tour.
And everybody always says, well, a common enemy will bring everybody together. And that, I think it only works if you get a Hitler,
Yeah.
Although right now I can't even say that, because right now there's a lot of people that support that hatred,
Which is so weird.
It's so
It's
weird.
so weird.
I mean,
It's
how
like,
can you?
why?
I mean,
Why?
and they're not even the same people that think the world is flat. They just want to hate other people and exterminate them.
It's so weird. It's so weird, but it's just like the fear of the other, fear of everything that you don't think you are.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. But I think the main enemy right now is probably ignorance, and ignorance can take a lot of different forms, or being closed-minded can take a lot of different forms. And so maybe that's the common enemy, hopefully.
It always was this ignorant, but we didn't have access to the billions of ignoramuses because of the intranet. And and it's just, I mean, you would think, this is going to be a horrible statement, I'm going to unquote this. The Asian hate that I didn't even think about until it started happening. And then I went, what?
Yeah.
What the hell? We're talking about people that in my life are the sweetest people I've ever known.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be so ignorant, I can't tee it up anymore. Ignorant. Has it brought together people of many Asian people from many different worlds? Japanese, Chinese, Korean.
Yeah.
Has it brought people together because of this common enemy?
Yeah, there's a lot of unity there, because we've also been separated by long-standing feuds, like between like wars that we've had, occupation that we've had over hundreds of years. You know, there's like a lot of old like biases between us settled as Asian Americans. So the one thing is that it's made us unite as Asian Americans, whereas before it was very disparate. So now there's a lot more closeness as a sort of Asian American identity, which didn't exist before, which is really good.
Yeah, but I think that's the beauty that comes after this terror.
Yes,
and then
that's what's
other
positive.
people go, well, what gives he or she or they the right to, because they have a microphone to give their opinions. What gives them any validity because they're an actor or an actress or a comedian? Where do you stand on that? Because I'd rather listen to you talk about it than someone doing, I mean, once in a while, a documentary from on somewhere that's not completely just manufactured.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's valid just because we have the need to speak up about our own issues. We have opinions, and I think those are important. I think that there was like a lot of that sort of started when, I think it was when Tim Robbins and Susan Sarandon would talk about Tibet.
Right.
Remember? And people were like, why can't they just be actors and actresses? Why do they have to talk about Tibet? And it was really like when, or even when the Sachin Littlefeather, who I guess accepted the Academy Award in lieu of Marlon Brando.
Right.
Maybe that was the beginnings of it. It was where let's separate the sort of like separation of church and state, separation of activism and entertainment. Yeah. But I think that they can be combined. Who knows? Who knows?
Well, there is a beauty in people that haven't, so many great actors and actresses that have never had a chance, haven't had the opportunity because it wasn't the cookie cutter of what American film wanted, of what they felt the public wanted, because the country was 75% white so long. And I think it's changing. Yes. I mean, I would probably, I'd like to be different every week, become a different race.
Then we'd know what it felt like, you know? We'd know
that
so
would be
more.
Great, wouldn't it? That
yes.
Oh no, I gave my whole series idea away. So now your podcast, it looks like you stopped recording it in June.
Yes.
And it was really good.
Thank you.
And it was also done by empowered women that you empowered and helped. And do you want to go back and do
Yes.
that?
I'd like to do another season. So the last season we focused on Asian American hate crimes and historical context around them. And I think that there's so many more. I had so little knowledge of Asian American history before doing this. And so now I've become much more of a historian and learning about these different events throughout American history. And so hopefully we'll be able to come back and do it soon. But yeah, I really love doing it. I think it's really important. And so I'll be back to it at some point, surely after I finish doing this tour, whenever we get to start again. Also I have the film Fire Island coming out next summer with
Right.
Bowen Yang and Joel Kim Booster, which is a great Asian American gay comedy, a beautiful romance story. Really exciting. And Sex Appeal, which will be out later in January on Hulu, and the Flight Attendant
actually,
on
right,
HBO Max.
the Flight Attendant. That's what I wanted to talk to you about.
Yes.
But yeah, it's actually 4 days from now, from right this moment, because this is the 10th of January, because we're in the world of dropping podcasts. They say drop them.
Yes.
Does that mean it's canceled? But January 14th is when that comes out, Sex Appeal on Hulu.
Yes.
Which
Yes.
isn't it bizarre that in 10 minutes, there's a brand new network that has $100 million to help you make a series.
I love it.
It's pretty fantastic. And
It's really great.
it feels to me like you're working more than ever.
Yes. It's good. It's really exciting. I love when comics get to do acting. As you know, we love it and we're always really good at it. Comics are really great actors. And so
Not
it's
all
great
of
when
them.
that's
Once in a while, you get those. Well, I
good.
have to say it this way. Those old
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
You're such a good actress. And
Thank you.
did 3 Flight Attendants guest starring
Yes.
coming up in this new season.
Yes.
Which
Yes.
the first season,
So good. It's so exciting.
and she bought that book, and I mean it's so empowering, that whole show.
Yeah, I love it. I love Kaley and I love Rosie, and it's a great show. And so we had such a great time making it. We were in Reykjavik in Iceland, and it was so exciting. And so I'm looking forward to seeing it too.
Can you give any spoiler alerts? Because I'm obsessed with the show.
It's exciting. It's just as exciting. Like to me, it's like such a scary show. Like, but so funny too. It's a comedy, but it's also like heightened awareness. Like fear is part of the humor, and so it's like a perfect action comedy.
And it's so well cast. You're so perfect for it, because Kaley and Rosie have that. They found that blend.
So good.
You're doing a drama, and then there's this moment that would be a sitcom moment, but it's not, because it's smaller. But
they're amazing.
I've known her a long time, Kaley, and Rosie's a sweetheart.
The best.
So now people need to see your stand up.
Yes.
They just have to, and you're never going to stop doing it, I have a feeling.
No, I'll keep doing it forever. I really love it.
Yeah, same here. I didn't know it. I didn't know that I was going to love stand-up as much as I love it. I have never loved it. My grammar's bad post-COVID, but I haven't ever loved I can't talk. I haven't loved it this much since I started, I think.
Yeah.
It's
I love
just,
it.
and I'm doing long-ass sets. I'm just, because I'm saying serious shit that I never said, and not to preach.
Yeah.
Because you can't preach unless you reach that status.
Mhm.
How do you approach it? Do you go through a 4-minute thing that you need to get off your chest?
I always think like it just depends, but it's never as defined as that. But because I always come from that like laughs per minute school of like the 4.5 minute set that becomes 6 minutes on the Tonight Show. So you want it to be like perfect.
Right.
So I always try to do as much as I can to keep it going. You kind of keep the idea afloat. It's like a balloon you're trying to keep afloat.
Uh-huh.
You keep pushing it up. And so I try to keep it filled up. But at the same time, you know, it's about the skill of getting it in there, getting those points in there while you can still make it funny. That's the challenge.
And those are the best people that have ever done it. Where
Yes.
you'll be watching. That's how Whoopi started. You'd be
Yes.
watching something
Keep
very
it-
serious.
Keep it up. Keep it up.
That's what I do. I didn't know that you were on Sex and the City. I miss everything. Was that one
Very
of your
early-
was that one? Yeah, season 4. I know a few
Yeah.
things.
Earlier on, I loved it. I was a huge fan of the show when it first sort of was on, and so it was great to be a part of that. And Willie Garson was a partner of mine on my game show, which I do often, 25 Words or Less, which we're missing him as a player. He was a formidable player. I also love the comedian to game show pipeline. To me,
Right.
that's an excellent thing, and I love
It's
doing.
fun.
I love doing game shows.
Now, how often do you do this?
I do 25 Words or Less, I think a few times this season. So I'm one of the main players, and I really, really love that
What
game
network
show.
is it on?
It's on Fox. And it's very, I mean, to me, it's just, it's such an exciting experience every time, as I really get serious about playing. So
I like
I've done
them
all those
too.
shows, yeah.
And it's a different world than it used to be. It used to be you do a game show and you can't act. Now it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I saw them on that game show. They'd be right for this series.
Yeah. I mean, game shows are really, I think to me are really, they're just so fun. So I'm developing a couple on my own, but I think that to me is a really fun space to be in.
Do you want to do another? What kind of? I hate asking questions like this, but I'm curious. It would be I'd be asking this if we were having coffee. Do you drink coffee?
I do drink coffee. Yes.
Okay, good. So I feel good about my question.
Yes.
That's all I want. That's my question. No, that wasn't. Do you see yourself doing a show where you would be like your own the flight attendant, or
I would love it.
or
I would
would you
love
want to
it.
do a sitcom type?
I would
thing?
love to do both. I mean, I would love
Right.
to do any of that. You know, to me, it's really like, if you look at a long career, something like Betty White's, you know, something that was
Oh
just
my
like,
God.
you're doing a million things, I think is so exciting and fun. And so hopefully it will be something like that, you know, but I would love to do anything.
You will. You definitely will, because something happens where, and there's this reverse ageism thing that I feel is in the air, and I feel it with me when I go perform. I look at my audience, and they're 21, and they bring their parents. And
Yeah,
their
it's
parents
wonderful.
bring their parents, and then
Yeah.
and you must see the same thing. You see
Yeah.
all ages of.
I love it.
people.
I love it. I think that's really amazing. It keeps me young.
And have you gotten in trouble with language a couple of times? I have in my career, of course.
Probably, yeah, a bunch of times. But at the same time, it's like to be able to like continue and learn, and to be able to sort of remain teachable is the whole point. I think it's really like we can learn new tricks, we can learn new ways of thinking about things, and so it's by being open to that we stay youthful.
Well, your 2022 is one of your beginning of your next 7-8 year cycle.
Yes.
It's really, I'm very happy that you wanted to talk to me, and I'm really excited to see the stuff you're going to do, because there aren't a lot of people that can blend being really funny and really honest, and they're they feel good to talk to and be around and
Well,
stuff
thank
like
you.
that.
Well, thank you. I'm a big fan of yours, as you know, for years. So this is great.
Oh, that's really why I said all that.
I'm glad.
So people need. I'm going to tell when I do my outro after you go away and live your life. I'll tell them that to go to margaretcho.com. I'll tell them that.
Perfect. Thank you.
I don't want to say it before then.
Just say it then.
Yes. So
Perfect.
now it's 4 days from now. They're going to be watching Sex Appeal on Hulu.
Sex
But I'll
Appeal.
tell them that after we're done talking.
All right.
So what are you going to do now? What's your plan?
I think I'm going to put up this cat bed that fell.
That's a good thing to do.
I have to soak the suction cups and then put it back up. And then maybe I'll have some coffee.
This sounds great.
Yeah.
And you are staying COVIDly safe? Because
yes,
you're doing what I'm doing. For me to have new material, and a lot of theaters are shut down.
Yeah.
And then a lot of them are big, and they are very reluctant to putting a lot of people in them, and some were sold out, but now they're canceling a lot of them right as we speak.
Yeah.
And I'm going into a lot of clubs and some theaters, and I mean, you're going to be at the Wiltern and the Greek, the May 7 and 8. So people have to see that or come out to LA because they should be here for the Netflix festival.
They should.
It's just something about the clubs that I still love. It's really interesting because you get to do, I get to do the next show and fix that or work on that and stuff. Which and there is something difficult about every night a different theater. I like it.
It's great to do clubs to sort of like you have a reset and then you can revisit something, an idea, and work on it. And it's the way stand-up comedy I think should be. So I really love that too.
And I love it better than going into the local clubs and doing 15, 20 minutes, or I'm just going to drop in or put special guests and I'll do that. That's just not fair to other people. And then also, I need to do a show. I love that too. People need to see you.
Yes.
So enjoy your coffee and your suction cup cat bed.
Thank you.
And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Margaret Cho. Margaret Cho is she's a pioneer. She's a legend. She's iconic, and she's not even in her mid-50s. I mean, what the hell? She is so special. And if you haven't seen her stand-up, go to margaretcho.com. Again, in just 4 days, or depending on when you're listening to this, you might be listening to it the day of January 14th. Sex Appeal on Hulu with Paris Jackson. And that's an important thing to see because she says it's good, and I trust her. She's going to be on the Flight Attendant. She's just such a strong voice, and she didn't even go into how much at the head of the movement to stop Asian hate as she has been these past few years. And she's just a wonderful example of how we all should be, which is to be strong and to not be cruel about it and to speak up for yourself. And yet she's so also disarmingly sweet. And back to career stuff, The Flight Attendant, 3 episodes coming up in this next season. I can't wait to see that. It's a fantastic show, and Margaret's we know she's going to be great. And in the summer, Fire Island with Bowen Yang and Joel Kim Booster. Yeah, that's the shot that I got. And just go see her tour. Just go see everything Margaret Cho. This has been Bob Saget's here for you. Really, Bob? I didn't know that. Your voice is not recognizable. I'm on tour. Just go to bobsaget.com. Go to margaretcho.com and then go look for me. Now, no, bobsaget.com. And then what else can I tell you? If you're not watching this right now, you can watch a 2-shot on Zoom, which is stimulating as hell, especially if your eyes can go in 2 different directions. Like Marty Feldman, I just lost 20 people more. But you go to youtube.com/Bob Saget. I just thank you guys for listening. You can rate, review, subscribe. You want to do that. You want to follow it or subscribe. You can go Spotify. You can go anywhere you want. You can take the A train, take a cab. You take a balloon. Don't take an air balloon. I almost had a crash in one. Well, I did have. I'll tell you about it another time. You guys take it easy. Happy New Year again. I hope you're well.